Hello, my name is Chaim Strauchler. I'm the rabbi of Shari Shamayim congregation in Toronto. The Shabbos is Parshas Vayeira. And as rabbis, we face the opportunity, but also the challenge of addressing Akedas Yitzchak. Our Balabatim, not just our Balabatim, we ourselves live in a society in which people face the question of what is the purpose of our lives. And for many of us, in Western society, the answer is there is no purpose other than to have as good a time as you can while you're here on this earth. And many of our people, and within ourselves, we face the same Yetzer Hara to say that we're here as long as we're here, and we might as well enjoy it as best we can. And the Akedah provides us with an opportunity, as Rabbanim, to raise this question with our Balabatim, utilizing perhaps the most powerful story in all of our tradition to argue on behalf of a different vision of life. In his commentary on Bereshis, the philosopher Leon Kass says the following about Akedas Yitzchak, and it's a very useful paradigm given the challenges that our Balabatim face in reading this story. How could God ask Avraham to kill his son? What was the tzivoy? What was the test? Writes Leon Kass, when God first addressed Avraham, we recall, he did so with a command accompanied by a promise. We wondered then whether Avraham obeyed and went because he was a God-hungry man, moved by the awe-inspiring commanding voice, or because he was a greatly ambitious man, enticed by the promises of founding, fame, and prosperity. At no point until now has it been possible to answer these questions. Only now that God has delivered the first installment of the promised blessings can the two reasons for following God be pitted against each other. Only now can Avram be tested to demonstrate indeed what he holds first in his soul: ambitious desire for the promised blessings, or humbled reverence for the one who calls and promises. If it was his ambition that initially drew Avraham to answer God's call, has it been educated and subsumed in awe? In an article in Tradition from 1980, Rabbi Soloveitchik is quoted by Pinchas Peli on this same issue. He writes, "Man attains liberty through self-sacrifice, total and unreserved offering of soul and body. That is the foundation of Judaism," asserts Rabbi Soloveitchik. Moreover, he hazards that in essence, Judaism does not prohibit the sacrifice of humans. That is, he explains, though the Torah forbids human sacrifice and regards the phenomenon as an example of the obscene in idolatry, it does not ban the notion of self-sacrifice. In the words of the Rav, God demands not tribute from man, but man himself. Rabbi Soloveitchik seeks the central philosophical idea underlying the act of sacrifice, explained in Maimonides' assertion that man is the property of the Creator. Man and all his belongings, his body and soul, ideas, actions, achievements, and possessions, even his wife and children, all belong not to man, but to his Creator. And if man is the property of the Almighty, then he has no choice when the voice of God calls out to him to take now thy son, thine only son, and sacrifice him, but to arise and set out to obey the command. Our people face this challenge, not necessarily on the scale of the Akedah, but in our lives, to make that decision to live for self-interest or for God's interest. Do we make the easy choice or the right choice, even when it's the hard choice? That is the strongest tool that we can give our people and our children when they go out into a world filled with all sorts of temptations. And this is something that our society needs when confronting challenges of abuse. The story of the Akedah is the antidote to a society in which people live only for themselves and do not think of others and do not think of God. In an essay in Rolling Stone magazine from the year 2000, David Foster Wallace speaks about such an Akedah moment within American society. And he writes about John McCain's decision to stay in a Hanoi prison rather than to be released early because he was the son of an admiral. He writes, "But see, we do know how this man acted, that he chose to spend 4 more years there in a dark box, alone, tapping code on the walls to the others, rather than violate a code. Maybe he was nuts, but the point is that with McCain it feels like we know for a proven fact that he's capable of devotion to something other, more than his own self-interest. This is what our people seek and what our society seeks, for people to live for more than their self-interest. And we have the greatest example of this in Avram at the Akedah, that he was tested. Do you live for your greatness? Do you live for having a great nation and a child? Or do you live for ideals in service of God? We have a message to share with our people every Shabbos, but specifically when quoting from the Akedah and reading from the Akedah, it behooves us to underline the message of Avraham to our generation.